Now let's discuss carbocation stability in a little bit more detail. So this is our unsymmetric alkene in this example, and this is propene, and we're talking about its reaction with hydrogen bromide. So in this case, you can get two different products. You can get this. Let's call this carbon A, and let's call this carbon B. So in this case, this is electrophilic addition, and this double bond is going to break. So that means that a hydrogen can get attached to either A or B. So in number 1, a hydrogen will get attached to this carbon, which is going to be B. This is A and this is B. So in this case, as you can see, previously it had 2 hydrogens and now it has 3 hydrogens. So this is going to be your major product. In a little bit of time, we're going to talk about why it's going to be the major product. So the hydrogen can also get attached to A in this case. Let me mark it in this diagram. So this is going to be A and this is going to be B. So the hydrogen can also get attached to A. And these are the two diagrams that I've shown over here. So this is going to be the major product and this is going to be the minor product. Now in the formation of this alkyl halide, this is the intermediate that's going to be formed. So in this case, the hydrogen got attached to B, right? So over here, this carbon would have the positive charge. So this would be a secondary carbocation, which, like we discussed before, is more stable. And since it's more stable, it's going to be more likely to be formed. Whereas in this case, you're going to get a primary carbocation because the hydrogen got attached to carbon A. So in this case, this is going to be a primary carbocation, and this is going to be less stable, which is why it's less likely to be formed. So this gives us rise to Markovnikov's rule. So in this case, the hydrogen of the hydrogen halide is going to attach to the carbon that already has more hydrogens attached to it. So in this case, this is more likely to be formed since this carbon has 2 hydrogens and this carbon has 1 hydrogen. So it's more favorable for the hydrogen to get attached to carbon B, which is why this is going to be your major product. Now let's move on to oxidation of alcohols. We can divide this into 2 different types. The first one is mild oxidation and the second one is strong oxidation. So for mild oxidation, it produces diols. That means 2 OH groups are going to be attached. For this, we use the reagent cold acidified KMnO4, and the observation for both of them, strong and mild, is going to be purple to colorless. And an example for this is going to be ethene. So when ethene gets oxidized, the double bond is going to break and an OH group is going to be attached to each carbon. So this is mild oxidation. For dilute oxidation, the reagent that you use is hot concentrated KMnO4, and these are going to be the oxidation products. So if in your alkene, the one carbon is going to be attached to 2 different hydrogens, you're going to get carbon dioxide and water. If the carbon is attached to an R group and a hydrogen, you're going to get a carboxylic acid. And if it's attached to 2 different R groups, you're going to get a ketone. Now we're going to look at different examples of oxidation. So in this case, for each alkene, the double bonded carbons are going to be judged separately. So over here, you have a pink carbon and you have a blue carbon. So in this case, there are 2 R groups attached to this pink carbon. So it's going to be oxidized to a ketone. That's going to be the corresponding ketone. So in this case, you have a 4 carbons in this side, so you're going to get a 4 carbon ketone. Now if you look at the blue carbon, there's an R group and there's a hydrogen, so you're going to get a carboxylic acid. In this case, there are 2 carbons over here, so you're going to get a 2 carbon carboxylic acid. Now let's look at the next example. In this case, we have a cyclic molecule. So you have the carbons attached over here, and in this case you have a CH2 here and a CH2 over here. So you're going to get a carboxylic acid because this carbon is attached to an H and an R group, and this carbon is also attached to an H and an R group. So in this case, you're going to get 2 different alcohols, carboxylic acids. Now let's look at this alkene. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to mark each carbon separately. Over here you can see that this carbon is bonded to one R group and one hydrogen, so you're going to get a carboxylic acid. And the blue carbon is also bonded to one R group and one hydrogen, so you're going to get the same carboxylic acid. So in this case you're going to get 2 moles of ethanoic acid. Now let's look at the last reaction, which is polymerization. So in this case, a polymer is a very large molecule with many repeating units. And a monomer is going to be a simple molecule. It's going to get joined together to form a polymer. So in this case, let's look at a few examples. The first example that we have over here is chloroethene. So in this case, the double bond between the carbons is going to break. You're going to draw 2 extended bonds and a bracket. And you're going to write down N over here. The N is going to denote the number of monomers that are going to form this polymer. So in this case, you're going to get PVC or polyvinyl chloride. And the uses for this are in water pipes, drain pipes, and window frames. After this, we're going to look at polypropene. In this case, you have propene over here as your monomer. So propene is a 3-carbon alkene. And the same thing is going to happen. The double bond is going to break. And you're going to write N over here in brackets to denote the number of monomers they're going to combine together to form polypropene. And this is used in car parts, car upholstery, sealants, clothing, and other fabrics. After this, we're going to take a look at Teflon. So in this case, the monomer is tetrafluoroethene. As you can see, there's 2 carbons over here, so it's going to be ethene. And it's going to be tetrafluoro because you have 4 fluorines. So this is going to form polytetrafluoroethane in this case because the double bond is going to break. The next one we're going to be looking at is called polystyrene. In this case, you have ethene with a benzene ring attached to one of the carbons. So the double bond is going to break. And you're going to write N over here. So this is used to make styrofoam and disposable cups. Our last example is ABS plastic. So the monomers for that are in the top row. These are the monomers. And this is the polymer. So now we're going to be talking about this polymer in detail. So the region that I've highlighted in pink corresponds to this monomer. So in this case, what happens over here is that this double bond is going to break and you're going to get a single bond. Now let's talk about the next region after this. So this region, the one that I've highlighted in turquoise, corresponds to this monomer. As you can see, there's a double bond over there. And now we're going to discuss why that happens. So because of the conditions that you have during polymerization, this double bond, the electron density is going to move over here. And the same thing for this double bond. So what's going to happen over here is that a new double bond is going to be formed over here because of the movement of these pi electrons. So you're going to get this double bond in this place. And now we're going to look at our last monomer. So this double bond over here, this is going to break and you're going to get this part of the polymer. So this is ABS plastic. Now we're going to discuss polyethylene or other addition polymers, and we can divide this into 2 parts. LDPE, which is low density polyethylene, and HDPE, which is high density polyethylene. And we're going to be discussing a little bit more about these in detail on the next slide. So for LDPE, which is low density polyethylene, you need a trace amounts of oxygen, a pressure of 1000 atm, and a temperature of 200 degrees Celsius. So in this case, the density needs to be low. So for that, your mass needs to be low as well, because density and mass are directly related. So if you have low mass, you're going to need less monomers in this case. On the other hand, density and volume are going to be inversely related. So if your density is less, your volume needs to be more. So to have a greater volume, it's better if your polymer or your monomers are going to be branched. Now let's talk about HDPE. So for HDPE, the condition that you need is going to be Ziegler-Natta catalyst. This is going to be dissolved in heptane at 50 degrees Celsius at 20 atm, and this is what it consists of. So in this case, your mass is going to increase because it's high density. So if your density increases, your mass also increases, since there's a direct relationship between them. Since your density is going to be increasing, your volume is going to decrease, because density and volume are going to be inversely related. So because of that, you need a straight chain molecule. As straight chain molecules are easier to pack together, so the volume they occupy is going to be less. So the properties of these are going to be that they have high melting point, high tensile strength, and they're very rigid.